Hey guys, this is Brando Guy 4 bringing you another episode of Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. In the last part, I got a whole bunch of collectibles leading up to the key cavern. Coming over to the right here, there's another gravity orb. There's nothing I can do about that just now. But there is another door that I need to throw a pot at to open. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and come right up. In here there are some bomb-like guys, and when you hit them they move around the room wildly, but I took care of them by hitting them into other enemies, so they got taken out a little bit easier. There's nothing I can do to the left here just yet, so I'm going to come up to the right. Some chews are going to appear and lock the doors. I'm going to open this chest, and it's just a trap, a chew, but it would show up when I got the compass anyway, so I'll go ahead and take them out. Coming over to the right here, you can see that there are going to be switches that I have to hit to change the level again, but I won't find that for a little while yet. Coming up here, there's a small chew over to the left that will make a chest appear when I can take it out, but I can't get over there just yet. There are some chews guarding this staircase, and I'm going to get a guardian acorn. Come on down, there are going to be more chews in here. The thing about this dungeon is that there are a lot of locked doors, and corresponding to the many locked doors, there are a lot of keys. A lot of times you'll feel like you don't know where a key is. That probably means that you neglected to kill all the enemies in the room, because most of the rooms in this dungeon you will get a key by defeating all of the enemies. So the first place I want to go when I'm faced with these 4 locked doors is up. Coming up here, I will see the switch that I needed to hit. There's also a Stalfos and a Stalchild. So take them both out to get the key. And I'm going to hit this switch. And now that the switch has been changed, I'm going to head right back. This chest has 50 rupees, which is going to be nice for getting up to the 980 I'm going to need for the bow. Then I'm going to come down back to this room after I take out the chews again, and get a piece of power that's going to be very essential for some of the rooms coming up. In here, I can now get to this treasure chest after I take out the Stalfos that's in my way. And in this chest is 200 rupees. So we're about a third of the way to what we need for the bow, though it's going to take me a lot of time to get the rupees I need. So I'm going to go ahead, come back through here, and I do have another spare key. I'm going to go down this time. Here's our first instance of a whiz robe, or at least the version of whiz robes in this game. They will teleport between 2 possible locations in the room, so once you know what the 2 locations are, you can get close to them to make them move, and then go take them out. There are bombs in there, which makes me feel like there's a wall that I have to bomb, but there's not one in this room. So I'm going to go up and then head over to the left, I believe, next. Yes, and in here, there's a couple chews and more whiz robes. They teleport between the 2 sides of the room, so just make them teleport, then jump back to the other side and you can take them out. There's a key there that would fall into the pit if you're not quick enough. I feel like this should have been a bombable wall, but it's not either. So I'm going to come back over and open up this last door in this room. And here's a couple keys and another whiz robe, and a staircase that will lead me to the other half of the dungeon that I haven't been into yet. I want to take out the whiz robe just to be safe, but there's nothing to be dropped in this room. Coming in here, there are a lot of chews around the perimeter of the room, so I want to make sure to take all of them out, because when I do, a key will fall. Going up from here, you can see the main thing about this dungeon is keys. You can see a locked block there and another locked block in the next room. You need a total of 4 keys to unlock all of those blocks to get to the end of the dungeon. So I'm going to take out all these chews and come up here, and here's the mid-boss of the dungeon, the Dongos. So, as you know from previous games and future games, the way to beat the Dongos is to use bombs. Unfortunately, it takes 3 bombs to take out each Dodongo, and entering the room I only had 5. So I'm actually short on bombs, so I take out that first one and get the fairy. But I'm realizing here that there's nothing I can do. So I leave the room and come over to the left here. I take out the shoes and the wizrobes in this room, and I get another key. I go through a one-way door here, and in this room is more shoes and the stall child. Take them out, and the treasure chest appears up above. Go up one more screen, and I knew that there were bombs in this room, which is why I decided to make my way over this way. There are a couple more bombs walking around, and a stealth post there. I lift up I have to get the pot out of the way, and now I have plenty of bombs. But first I go down to get this treasure chest, which is my map, finally. Several minutes into the dungeon. So it looks like briefly there. I walk along this upper path. There's nothing to get up here, but this path gives you a hint for a future part of the dungeon. You can see that there are two rooms up above here that appear to have no connection, but on the left hand side you can see that you can bomb through that wall, so we need to remember that for later. So coming back down to take on the other Dodongo, I take out the shoes again to open up the door, and when I come up here, the other Dodongo somehow, I have no idea how, is suddenly gone. I don't know if this is like a well-known trick to save time, or it had something to do with the number of rooms I walked away, or if it was just some random glitch. But one way or another, I did not have to fight the second Dodongo. The warp is there and it works in everything. So coming over here, there's a treasure chest I can get by pushing those blocks, and I get the Pegasus boots, my dungeon item, and getting the Pegasus boots opens up a lot of things for us. Most notably, those crystals can be broken by dashing into them. So I walk down to reset the block, and going back up, I can now head over to the right. There is a fairly obvious arrow on the ground here, and that reminds me that yes, there are bombable walls in this dungeon, just not the ones that I thought they were earlier. So bombing that open, you can come down here. There are a couple stalfos in this room, and a spot you can bomb on the left wall as well. It doesn't open up a new room for you, it just gives you another path to get between those two rooms. So to get over large gaps like this, you need to use the Pegasus boots and Rock's Feather in conjunction. If you can get a good running start, you can easily get over those larger gaps. Jumping over there, you get the Nightmares key, so we can get to the end of the boss, or we can get to the boss room once we have enough keys. Here I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it. It's a fairly small space there, and if you don't have a lot of room, it can be tough to get the jump, but after a couple tries, I pull it off. Now I'm looking at the map, trying to decide where to go from here, and I decide ultimately to go back to the beginning of the dungeon because there were two things that I couldn't do before that I can now since I have the Pegasus boots. So I'm going to go first back to the very beginning of the dungeon, which would have been faster if I had taken the warp, but apparently I forgot about it. So coming all the way back to the beginning, you'll remember that there was that orb that pushed you out of the room to the right, and if you don't act quickly, it can push you out. But if you use the Pegasus boots, you can actually dash into it and destroy it, and that will get you to this small key. So that is one of the remaining small keys that I need. I need to get out the power bracelet again so that I can open this door again. And the other place that I couldn't go without having the Pegasus boots was over to the left here. So I can now dash through those crystals and take out the small chew here to make a treasure chest appear in that room. And now I just need to go back around to the other side to actually get the treasure chest. I take a lot of damage here because I'm being careless with the bombs. And I saw a heart appear there just for a moment, but missed out on getting it, so I'm very low on health. There's a fragment of the stone slab, and we saw where the wall was earlier, where that goes in. So I'm going to go through, I take them all out hoping to get a heart, but I don't. I'm going to come up here and carelessly try to fight the Stalfos and end up getting my first death of the game. And here's where I make the mistake. I save and continued. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm post-commentating this episode. And if I hadn't chosen save and continue there, when I ended this episode, I could have just reset, gone through the dungeon again, and done normal commentary. But because I chose save and continue, I had to post-commentate because the commentary didn't record. And I also apparently forgot that I was going to check the stone slabs, so I don't go back to it for the rest of the episode. Fortunately, I do realize that the place I haven't been is up here. I'm still missing that one key. These are different kinds of bombs. Rather than move around wildly when you hit them, they have a really creepy smile and then count down from 3 to their explosion. And I do very poorly with dodging them, so I lose a lot of health to them as well. Coming into this room, you open this treasure chest and you get the compass, which is lovely, but you're still missing that one last key, which is where the path at the bottom of this room comes into play that we saw earlier. We know we can bomb this wall even though there's no visible cracks in it. So coming through there, we will have a few more of the wild bombs. I do a very nice hit that causes a chain reaction for all of them to blow up, and I get the last key that I need. I'm picking up these pots looking for health, and fortunately one of them had a fairy underneath it, so I am back up to full. So now I have to come through here and I have to take out these bombs again. And I have the idea, I know in Ocarina of Time, if you use the shield, it protects you from explosions. Turns out that it's not the case in Link's Awakening, so I end up taking a bit more damage there. But I do have 4 keys, so I am able to now open up these blocks, and I'll be able to go through the staircase there to take me to the end part of the dungeon. Now here I'm trying to get this guy to fall down, and I foolishly jump into the spikes to see if he'll see me and fall. But then I realize that's not what I have to do. What I actually have to do is dash into him. It'll crack a bit and fall down. Here I make another poor jump and end up in the spikes yet again. So I'm just taking all sorts of damage. You can probably figure out what's about to happen soon. I take out the piranha plant, and in this room is 3 wizrobes and a lot of crystals blocking my way. So I had just fought these wizrobes not that long ago, but I was already forgetting where their pattern was. So I finally managed to take one out, but I get hit by the magic at the same time and suffer my second death in the dungeon. Since I had already saved, I just decided to do it again. And I cut back to the wizrobes, and this time I am much more careful in fighting them, though I still walk into one of the crystals and have to go through the text box again. But this time I take them out without taking too much damage. When I had done this dungeon last time, I had dashed through all of the crystals to see if you get anything from them, and you do not. So there's only that one floating heart. And here are a whole bunch of keys. And I kill all the keys, and curiously, once they all die, they drop a key. And I'm going to check the map here, and I'm looking around. There is no place to use that key in this dungeon. And they don't carry over like they did in the original game, so I have no idea why this dungeon alone has an extra key. Here the boss is saying you can't find him, just dash into a wall. You get a chew and your obligatory giant eye monster for this Zelda game. So dash into the middle of him with your Pegasus boots and he will start to come apart. And eventually he will split into 2, and then you can start to deal damage. When they jump down from the ceiling, you get stunned. So after getting stunned a few times, I decided to take out my Rock's Feather so that I can jump when they're about to come down and avoid being stunned, so I can keep doing damage. It looks like I'm about to get cornered here, but they were both low on health, so I managed to take them out both at the same time and get the heart container, filling up my first row. So coming up here, I took a moment to remember what this was. I promised you in the original commentary, I did remember that it was in fact the Sea Lily's Bell. So I got the Sea Lily's Bell, and I'll be quiet for a moment. Yeah, it doesn't really sound like part of the song, but it is important. Every part is important. Waterfall. It is hidden in the waterfall. So that's our clue for the next place to go, but if I come to the east here, time for the owl. Hoot, how many instruments have you gotten so far? When you play the instruments in front of the egg, the windfish will wake, and you will leave this island. Now, you must hasten to the Yarna Desert. The dark, monstrous inhabitants of the sand will show you the way. Hoot hoot. So at the end of the dungeon we were told to go to the waterfall, but we were told by the owl that we in fact first have to go to the Yarna Desert. So, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Pegasus boots to get the new things that are now available to us. So the very first one is just a couple screens over here. I decided to actually take the time to fight these Octoroks to make it a little bit easier on me. But the second one just gives me all sorts of trouble dodging everything. I probably just use a spin attack to finish it off. And I'm going to dash into this tree here. And inside of it is Secret Seashell number 14. And we're getting pretty close to what we need now. We had seen earlier when I went back that there were some bombable walls here, and I said we would come back to them in the future. So here's the first of those walls, and I could have gotten in here before, but I wouldn't have been able to do anything because there are crystals here that I have to dash through. I exit there to give myself a better placement for avoiding the bubble, but end up running into it anyway. So just come around here, and when you go down, dash through this, and you can push that rock out of the way. And here is 50 rupees. And it is in fact very nice, but it's not the reason to come into this cave for real. Really what you want to do is bomb this wall. You can come over through here and get heart piece number 6. So we are halfway to the 12 heart pieces in this game already. And I think about it for a moment, but I forget that it's a lot easier to get out of this area by pushing the rocks. So I instead go to dash through all the crystals again, wasting a whole bunch of time and getting myself hit by the bubble yet again. But coming over to the east here, we will see that Terran has appeared next to this tree. But first I'm going to bomb this other wall. Coming in here is one of the game's fairy fountains, so if you're in the area and you need to be healed, you can just come in here, and the fairy will heal you up. I was only missing a little bit of health, but I decided to go ahead and talk to her anyway. So, Terran's standing by this tree, and there's a bee floating around the tree, and I have a stick in my inventory. So I'm going to talk to Terran. Oh, Link. I see you have a nice stick. Can I borrow it for a second? Sure, you can borrow my stick, Terran. And sure enough, he pokes the beehive, and a whole bunch of bees come out. And there's some humorous music playing as he gets chased right out of here. And it falls down. So, the stick became the honeycomb. You're not quite sure how it happened, but take it. So, Terran made a very poor decision, and now I have a honeycomb for the trading side quest. So I'm going to meet you for the last time at the entrance to the Tail Cave. Here, we don't actually want to go into the Tail Cave, but you may remember while traveling to the Tail Cave one of the previous times that there was something a little odd here. There's this lone tree in the screen. That's the only thing there, except the owl perch is there once. But there's also a secret seashell inside of it. And we now have only 5 more secret seashells to get our big reward. So, we're getting pretty close to done there. and now I want to head back to Mabe Village. And I'm just gonna hop over here. Earlier in the game, I was hopping around a lot, but now that I have the Pegasus boots, I prefer to use them to travel quickly, at least until I open up more warps, that is. And I had mentioned the dialogue a few times, but I hadn't talked to people. So, where are you from, brother? Outside the island? What is outside? I never thought about it. And this kid? The giant egg on top Tamaranch Mountain? They say the windfish is sleeping inside of it. Why? I don't know either. So I do love the dialogue in this game, but I hadn't bothered to talk to most of the people of town. So I decided I'd go ahead and do that now. Talk to this lady who's waving her arms. Yahoo! I'm fine, and you? Coming in here, the biggest surprise. Please call outside. It seems that old man Ulrira is a shy guy in person. You may remember my Ulrira voice. It was not that voice of a man. I had no idea until I went into that house that Ulrira was in fact a man, so I changed his voice. Hi, this is Ulrira. In the Yarno Desert, which is located in the southeast of the island, you will find something called the Angler Key. How much more obvious do I have to be? Bye. Click. So, now that I know that Ulrira is a man, I can change that voice. Dude, you're asking me when we started to live on this island? What do you mean by when? Whoa, the concept just makes my head hurt. So I decided I was done talking for people. I walk into the shop for just a moment to lament the 980 rupees the bow costs. And I had talked to Marin when I showed off the thief thing, but I told you to ignore what she says. But now you need to know what she says, and you will see what she says next time. See you guys then.